In this video we're going to talk about the USA. What is the US like today? It's the biggest economy in the world and the third most populated country with a population of 322 million people. Are you ready to learn some interesting facts about this country? First, climate and nature. Here you'll find diverse climates, stunning and varied landscapes, and fantastic wildlife. Interestingly, most of the climate zones of the world can be found in the US, from tropical areas in the south of Florida and Hawaii to the desert climate of Arizona, and cold winters of some northern states. All in all, the US is a very warm country. Did you know that New York is actually as warm as Rome in Italy? Warm climate is the main reason that iced tea is so popular here. Next, tourism. More than half of Americans have never traveled outside the country. There's more than enough facilities for excellent tourism here. The US has got more than 250 water parks, more than 400 amusement parks, more than 50,000 hotels, and countless number of beach resorts and great national parks. And did I mention that making a road trip across the US is so much fun? Most American cities are built for cars, so to get around people need cars because public transportation is almost non-existent in most places. So pretty much every member of the family has got to have a car. Traditional yellow buses carry most American children to and from school. Most cities have a downtown area and then suburbs that sprawl around the city. What do the modern suburbs look like? Most suburbs are built according to the master plan and all look alike. The infrastructure would normally include pedestrian zones, golf and tennis courts, kids' playgrounds, and swimming pools. And although many American cities in fact look alike, some definitely stand out. Let's see which ones. New York, world's financial, fashion, and business capital. Concrete jungle with a famous Central Park. Las Vegas, a city of casinos and entertainment where you can have the craziest time of your life, win a jackpot, or get married in less than 15 minutes. Los Angeles. Here's where you'll find Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and Stars Alley. This is the home of American movie industry that is so popular around the world. Miami combines the tropical climate and American luxury. Wide beaches and fabulous nightclubs. You can hear Spanish just as often as English here. San Francisco. San Francisco is known for its cool summers, fog, steep rolling hills, eclectic mix of architecture and landmarks, including the Golden Gate and cable cars. America's infrastructure is one of the best in the world. The world's longest highway system with a total length of 6.5 million kilometers, including the interstate highway system with a length of 77,000 kilometers. Longest railroad system in the world with a total length of 226,000 kilometers. Airspace is one of the busiest in the world and the busiest airport on the planet in Atlanta. At the same time, there are a lot of drawbacks. Long a source of national pride, America's infrastructure today is in critical need of repair, but federal government spending on the issue has gone down 9% in the past decade. Also, there is no high-speed national passenger railroad as you find in Europe, and there are no plans to build one. Most Americans are workaholics. Like they say here, most choose to live to work rather than work to live. Most start working at a young age at fast food places like McDonald's or Denny's. Any kind of work is appreciated. Often even the children of rich parents have to work their way up the career ladder on their own. According to OECD report, the US can boast one of the highest salaries in the world with a gross value of $57,000 a year. It's hard to believe, but those who make less than $1,000 a month are considered poor in this country, which at the same time is considered a decent amount of money throughout the rest of the world. There are downsides, of course. Short paid vacation time. On the average, it's only 10 to 20 days a year. The US has always been famous for its entrepreneurial spirit. Small business owners are the embodiment of the American dream. Americans like the gumption it takes to invest one's life savings to follow the dream of starting a company. After all, this is a nation of go-getting risk-takers living in the land of opportunity. There's very little bureaucracy and it's very simple to get your company registered. Americans are very mobile and ready to move across the country depending on the business opportunities. The US is all about innovation and creativity. There's some sort of optimism in the Americans that make them bring even the craziest and most absurd ideas to life. Just think about Tesla cars, GoPro cameras, YouTube, Windows, Facebook, SpaceX rockets, and so much more. Many people around the world wonder why America is so rich. It's because American economy is so diverse and not limited to iPhones and McDonald's burgers. It's an unrivaled leader in science, medical research, technology, agriculture, oil business, music and movie industries, and so many more fields. There's very little red tape. Replacing your driver's license will only take 30 minutes. Most Americans never had to bribe an official to get something done or get something approved. Debt is a fact of life for more and more Americans, and that may not be a bad thing. New report by the Pew Charitable Trusts found that 8 in 10 Americans are in debt in some fashion, most often because of a mortgage. And that debt is not limited to young people starting out life. Increasingly, people are carrying debt into retirement. Pew found that higher income people with more assets tended to have more debt. Earlier, research by the Pew Research Center found a substantial wealth difference between white, black, and Hispanic households. Median debt for white households at $41,500 was more than double median debt for black and Hispanic households, and white families' median net worth in 2013 at $159,400 was 11 times that of black families and 10 times that of median net worth of Hispanic families. An average American has a number of credit cards in their wallet and an average debt of $4,700. The US spends more per student on education than any other country. In 2014, the Economist Intelligence Unit rated US education the 14th best in the world, just behind Russia. And while high school education in the US is not something to be proud of, higher education is one of the best in the world. Thus, 46 out of 100 top universities in the world are American. But higher education is not free, and a 4-year bachelor degree program will set you back anywhere from $110,000 to $160,000. One of the major drawbacks in the US is that there is no universal health care. The US is the only industrialized nation that relies heavily on a for-profit medical insurance industry to provide basic health care. In 2009, the Kaiser Family Foundation and the Health Research and Education Trust survey found that employer health insurance premiums were $13,000 for a family and $4,800 for a single person. Nationally, an average of 16.2% of Americans did not have health insurance when Gallup interviewed them in 2009. Many people with pre-existing conditions such as cancer and depression are turned down for coverage, denied coverage of those conditions, and are charged higher prices for coverage. The 9 million self-employed workers have a greater challenge than many people to find affordable health insurance, and they represent 8% of the U.S. labor force. Sadly, the U.S. has a third world crime problem. Crime rate is considered to be really high compared to other civilized nations, especially from Western Europe. There are some crime-ridden neighborhoods mostly inhabited with minorities where drugs and crime violence are abundant, so-called ghettos. Justice system is very severe and criminals can face capital punishment. People dress very casually. In the US, you'll never know if someone's a millionaire or if they're broke. It was Americans who first introduced the casual style into everyday business world when CEOs started showing up dressed in jeans and a sweater instead of an expensive suit. At the same time, there are still many places where dress code is still enforced, like churches, expensive restaurants, theaters, and such. The US is a popular shopping destination. Prices in the US are normally lower than in Europe, especially on clothing, cars, and gas. There are constant sales. Many people come to the US with the sole purpose of shopping. Americans worship their celebrities and are just obsessed with them. At the same time, they lack knowledge of and attention to celebrities from non-English speaking countries. In the US, you won't die of thirst. Water is free in most restaurants. You can even walk into Starbucks and ask for water. Waiters are friendly and will ask you how your day was. You'll see smiles and hospitality pretty much everywhere. Tipping culture is everywhere. In the taxis, restaurants, hotels, standard is 15 to 20%. Sometimes tips are included in the check already. It's impossible to imagine America without its fast food. But it's not just fast food. In major cities you can find every cuisine on earth. The only thing that you can complain about is the size of the portions, which makes it easier to understand why 35% of the population is overweight. Breakfast in the US is ridiculously awesome. It's a car-based society with little alternative in terms of efficient, available, and cheap public transportation. Cars are cheaper than they are in Europe. Most Americans love big trucks, SUVs, and minivans. Muscle cars are really popular among younger people, although energy, fuel-efficient cars are becoming more popular now. And lots of people are into collecting retro cars, and there are constant car shows and lots of racing tracks around the country. There are as many as 9 million motorcycles, and California has got more than any other state. Most popular sports in the US are football, baseball, hockey, and basketball. Sports is also big business. Price of a basketball team can reach $3 billion. Americans are a lot more religious than Europeans. Going to church on Sunday is a lifestyle for many. Over 70% are Christians. In everyday life, Americans often mention God. America is not just about highways and big cities. There's plenty of countryside. As many as 15% of Americans live in the countryside, and some families have their own cattle and sometimes really impressive amounts of land with lakes and forests. The rural population of America has declined from 2010 by about 30,000 people per year. By contrast, the urban population has grown by more than 2 million annually. As of 2007, there were 2.2 million farms. Physically challenged people can feel like regular people in the US. Everything is made friendly for them. Automatic doors, elevators, parking spots, and assist buttons when entering a restaurant. In major cities you will see a lot of homeless people on the streets, especially in cities like San Francisco and San Diego. According to different sources, there were as many as 600,000 to 1.5 million people. But nobody has the right to kick them out and beat them up here. On the contrary, most people try to help them by organizing mobile showers and food delivery. You'll be surprised to see how many elderly people you find in various resorts and expensive casinos in Las Vegas and elsewhere. The thing is, most of American retired people were able to save up an impressive amount of money, and they prefer to travel the world rather than stay at home. Americans are very patriotic. You will see national flags in many houses. Also, Americans are gun lovers. Some keep a whole arsenal at home. Unfortunately, every year they have more than 11,000 fatal accidents related to gunshots. People are indeed friendly and smile a lot. Most are sincere about it, and wherever you come and whoever you meet eyes with, you'll most likely see a smile on their face and they'll ask you how you doing. This is something they learn from childhood. American hospitality might be the best in the world, and you can start a conversation with anybody, anywhere, at a coffee shop, in a bar, at a baseball match, and it feels like you've been friends forever. The US, like any other country, has its upsides and downsides. There are a lot more upsides in this case. What's the American dream? The American dream is that anyone can succeed, and this is technically possible, and more upheld as a value in the US compared to many other countries. But it is also true that certain groups of people are more positioned than others for this to be easier, whether it be because of their race, gender, economic status, or the people they know. There's no way to describe America in one video. There are too many different subcultures and towns. Life in the countryside in Tennessee will be a lot different from living in LA. And this brings us to the end of the video. Thank you.